Velodrome, Paris, 1914. Jack Johnson defending the heavyweight championship of the world for the 4th time against Frank Moran, the undefeated Frank Moran from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Jack Johnson coming from Galveston in Texas. 58 wins on his record, 6 defeats, 10 draws, 1 no contest. But he's 36 years of age now, 10 years older than the challenger, who comes to the ring with a perfect 24-fight record. Referee for this one, Georges Carpentier. And of course it's scheduled for 20 rounds. Interestingly, Jack Johnson was the former coloured heavyweight champion of the world. If you may remember that in those old days, of course, coloured fighters weren't allowed to fight for the World Championship proper, but he did make 21 defences of the coloured heavyweight championship. So final instructions then from our referee. See the MC there using an enormous megaphone. So potentially then 20 rounds of boxing in front of us here. Frank Moran looking awfully nervous, and of course the enigmatic and outrageously overconfident Jack Johnson, hands on hips. So into round 1 we go. Jack Johnson, a very laid-back individual. Hands down, straight backed. Moran, well, he's not to land a punch yet, but skipping around this ring. Knows, of course, Johnson's reputation of being a big hitter. Johnson controlling the pace of the fight and, of course, the distance. That vaunted power of his. This fight, of course, taking place really hot on the heels of the bare knuckle era, hence the size of the gloves, weighing 3 ounces. Barely a punch landed of any note from either fighter so far. So Moran's big moment, then 24 straight wins. With a backhander there from Moran. Johnson has really cut himself a name in the States. Very unpopular man. And this winter velodrome in Paris drew an enormous crowd to watch 2 Americans contest the heavyweight championship. Moran there tentatively going forward, takes a right from Johnson. Jack Johnson, a very economical fighter. Well, things had really come Johnson's way, but the irony was when he fought battling Jim Johnson in his previous defence of the championship, the crowd wanted their money back. It was such a poor fight. It was rumoured that Johnson had broken his arm, his left arm, in round 3, hence the fact that he just used the right thereafter. fact, a fracture was diagnosed after the fight, but it also reckoned that it was caused in a wrestling match the night before. But Johnson was one of those fighters that used to fight 2 or 3 times a night. So blood then pouring from the right eye here of Frank Moran in round 5. Referee Georges Carpentier not getting too close to the action. So Frank Moran then looking very tentative, very nervous. Looking like as bold as he was in the early rounds. And more inclined to hold. Johnson a vicious puncher. There's some interesting names on the record of Frank Moran. No massive names, of course, but he fought the likes of Thunderbolt Ed Smith, Black Fitzsimmons, great names, Gunboat Smith. Jack Johnson's first attempt to win the heavyweight championship came against Stanley Ketchel. He knocked Ketchel out in 2 rounds. And the irony was, Johnson got off the floor to do that. He landed an enormous punch as Ketchel came in to finish him. Knocked out Stanley Ketchel and was dazed and reeling on the ropes when the decision was announced in his favour. So Moran now choosing to fight on the inside here, but finding he has as much luck there as he does on the outside. So Johnson then still incredibly economical here, wasting very, very little. Frank Moran, cross-arm guard there, trying to prevent Johnson from landing. A nice long left hand from Frank Moran. And it's clear to see, of course, the link between bare-knuckle boxing and boxing with gloves on. You may remember that John L. Sullivan was the first to ask for gloves in the early days, simply because he kept hurting his hands at such a late age. Hence his fight with Jake Kilrain was the last time a bare-knuckle fight was contested. This is the legacy. Well, Moran now in survival mode. And this is probably 3 or 4 times livelier than Johnson's previous contest. As I say, the crowd booed and demanded their money back because it was such a non-event. Then again, you can't really blame a man with a broken left arm. So round 10 it is. So Jack Johnson in action against Frank Moran for the heavyweight championship of the world. 4th defence here for Johnson, and a nice left hand. Lovely uppercut there from Johnson. It's the puncher used in his previous defence. referee Carpentier there, talking to Johnson for some strange reason. Looked perfectly legal to me. One thing Johnson does do is he tends to hold and hit quite a bit. Holds with the left hand, hits with the right. I think that's possibly what the referee was on about. Johnson very well put together. In the old days, the newspapers used to render the decisions, and he beat Al Kaufman on a newspaper decision for the heavyweight championship, but of course it wasn't universally recognised. Other wins with James J. Jeffries, of course a huge name in boxing circles. Interestingly, against James Jeffries, the venue was especially constructed for one fight, and that was it. So Frank Moran then, reduced to trying to defend himself here. Of course, the old adage is if you can't win, at least go the distance. And Moran holding on, trying to prevent Johnson from connecting with heavy punches. But of course, Jack Johnson knows every weakness that Moran has got. Exploiting every gap he can find, if he can be bothered. Simply can't afford, of course, another fiasco as in his previous contest. Only as good as your last fight. Johnson looking a wee bit livelier here. A little stumble there from Moran. Nice left jab again there from Johnson. So Johnson then looking a wee bit lively here as the fight has moved on, because I think most of the fight has gone out of Frank Moran at this stage. Of course, with gloves this size, all it takes is one punch at this weight. So can Frank Moran then turn this one his way? It's been tough going for him. And as you can see, Johnson has livened up here, quick on his feet, because Moran has come out storming for his second win. rounds then for Frank Moran were pretty poor. Trying to put Jack Johnson under pressure here. He knows he could be one punch away from becoming the heavyweight champion. Johnson's clearly one of those fighters that like things to go his way. "58 wins, 60 defeats, 10 draws, 1 no contest for Johnson. Of course, a perfect 24 fight record for Frank Moran coming into this. 10 years between them, with Johnson's experience telling at the moment. So the best round then that Moran has had for quite some time gets shoved to the ropes there by Jack Johnson. Round 19 and Frank Moran still trying awfully hard after a very sticky patch in the middle rounds, coming on quite strongly towards the finish. Johnson containing him. So Moran's last opportunity then of winning this one by knockout. He certainly needs one. 20th and final round of the World Heavyweight Championship, and Jack Johnson has been the master. Moran has tried awfully hard in the last 3 or 4 rounds to close the gap. And Frank Moran staring the first defeat on his record in the face. Nice right hand from Moran. Johnson just holds on, walks him off to the ropes. A few weak uppercuts to the body on the inside there from Moran. Well, the second's ticking away now, Moran's challenge. Good solid left there from Jack Johnson. So after 20 rounds of tough boxing, Jack Johnson does indeed retain his heavyweight championship of the world against Frank Moran for the 4th time.